Are you buying your first home here in Hoboken? Being a first-time home buyer can be really intimidating, a little bit scary. So today we're going to talk through 5 things that you really need to be thinking about and aware of buying your first home, especially in an urban city like Hoboken, where there's a lot of condos, a lot of different things that you should really know about before jumping in and starting your home buying search. Number one, you really need to be aware of what to look for and how to read condo financials and condo bylaws and condo house rules. This is something you won't have in multifamilies or single family properties in the suburban areas, but in urban areas, almost everything's a condo if it's not a townhome, which is kind of rare and very expensive in this market to begin with. Inside these financials, you have to look for things like, are there bad loans on the books? How are the reserves? Are they running at a surplus or a deficit? These things can really affect the value of the property, but also the HOA fees going up and down in the future. There's also rules. A lot of buildings have restrictions on pets. They have restrictions on Airbnb. They have restrictions on how long you can rent someplace out, or maybe some work that you can do to the property on the interior or the exterior of your individual unit. So you have to be aware of how to read these things, what to look for, what some of the trigger points might be that could make something less attractive or more attractive. Number two, another thing that you really have to consider in an urban area is how long are you planning on living there? We have, tight spaces, 600-700 square foot 1 bedrooms, 1,300-1,400 square foot 2 and 3 bedrooms. But a lot of people worry that they're not going to live there long enough, or they're going to outgrow that space quickly if they're getting married, having kids, downsizing, upsizing, any real life reason, right? So how long will you live there? If you live someplace or even own it for 6+ years, historically, you'll be at least flat no matter how much up and down happens in between. If you're looking at only living there and not willing to rent it out afterwards for less than 6 years, renting might be the right move for you. So you really want to understand how long can you physically live there and how long would you be willing to hold on to it and be a landlord, and what that entails before deciding on where to buy and how much to invest in this town. Number three is knowing about flood zones and flood insurance. Now, there's not a huge problem with flooding in Hoboken. There's been some in the past, sure, with Sandy, Irene, even some heavy rains can really affect certain areas of the town. So knowing what areas are more prone for flooding, which ones are less prone, is very important to start with. But also from there, you need to know about flood insurance. Some buildings are going to cover it. It's going to be in the HOA fees. Your HOA fees are probably $100 or $200 a month will go towards it. But other buildings, especially smaller buildings, may not have that flood insurance in their HOA fees for a variety of reasons we can get into another time. So if that's the case, you need to know, what is flood insurance going to cost you to have supplementary. If you're getting a mortgage, you're going to need flood insurance either provided by the building or individually. So knowing those prices, knowing where premiums are at that current time is super important, and asking that question very early on in the process is important as well. So that's number three. Know about flooding, know about the insurance, know about that whole dynamic world. Number four is really make sure you're aware of your mortgage options and what types of loans you can get and what types of loans you can even use in some different condo buildings. So we're going to have things like FHA loans or VA loans. They're a little bit more complicated to get done inside of condo buildings because they need to maintain approvals, which very few do. They're possible. They could take a little bit longer. You could do something what's called a spot VA or a spot FHA loan, but not all sellers in competitive markets are going to accept them. And it's going to be a lot more legwork on your side and your lender's side. So it's something you need to go in knowing. Another thing is, how long of a loan fixed rate period do you need? So many people come in looking for a 30-year fix, but they only plan on owning the property for 7 to 10 years. You could save yourself a quarter, a half, almost a full point by doing a 7-year ARM or a 10-year ARM, and the risk is really capped. There's a lot of people think anything can happen after that fixed period, but if you really understand the product, you know that there's step-up caps that you really can't go above certain rate increases even after your fixed period. So knowing that can save you a lot of money. Knowing what kind of options that you even have is very important. So you make sure you have your numbers dialed, and then make sure that you really kind of understand what's the best fit for you after you understand all the options that are on the table. And number five, last but certainly not least, local attorney, local lender, local inspector, local agent. This market is so dynamic that people that work in Hoboken very rarely even work outside Hoboken. And when people from outside Hoboken come into Hoboken or Jersey City or any kind of like urban area here, they're lost. They don't know what they're doing if they don't work here and know the ins and outs and the nuances. A local attorney is going to know what to look for in condo bylaws and condo financials. A local inspector is going to know, well, where's the AC? Do I need to go find it on the roof? Is it in the boiler in the basement? Some different things that are very simple in single family homes. If the person is not very good in inspecting condos. They can miss some things. I've seen it happen. And lastly, lenders. You'll have lenders that say, yeah, you get this rate or you can do that, all those things because they're due 90% single family homes. Then they understand it's a condo. All of a sudden, your rate changes, your term changes, everything changes. And last but not least, your agent, right? Your agent needs to quarterback all these things, bring them all together, make sure that you're not missing anything. And if they don't do condos and do them in Hoboken, Jersey City area regularly, they're going to miss some things. So those are the 5 things you really, really need to be aware of, thinking about when you're looking to move to Hoboken for the first time, looking to buy a condo for the first time. I hope this is some helpful information. Everyone's situation is specific, so reach out. I'm Jeff Bonk with the HBB Group here in Hoboken. One of our real estate consultants is standing by to take that call, help you talk through your specific situation, and make sure you don't have any missteps and you understand everything up front before you even see your first property. We'll see you there.